guidance, career guidance in high school, because I already kind of decided I wanted to go into the Air Force and work on some planes. So once I understood what an engineer was, that's kind of the career path I chose. But I hadn't zeroed in on mechanical engineering because there's all sorts of different kinds of engineers.
Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned there's a wide variety of engineers. Mm-hmm. And what exactly do you do for your specific job at Boeing?
So mechanical engineers come in all flavors. Sometimes they call mechanical engineers jack of all trades but a master of none, which isn't necessarily true. That means mechanical engineers have a wide span of things that they can work on. Many engineers that applies to. An electrical engineer has a wide span of things he works on, but it zeroes in on the electronics portion of or component of it. Mechanical engineers can work on small tasks, designing very small intricate things, or very large things. So I've always been a tinkerer. I've enjoyed playing with things and building things and tearing things apart, destroying things and putting them back together. And that, so that intrigued me about the aspect of mechanical engineering. Figuring out how things work and how to break them and how to keep them from breaking.
Okay.
So, as a mechanical engineer now, so what you're really doing is just breaking things down and putting them together, or are you designing parts?
I do some breaking things down and putting them back together. Typically, that's not the breaking things down. Isn't a regular part of the mechanical engineering. It's more understanding from the beginning how to design them so they don't break, or possibly you would design something so that it does break if that's an intended feature of something you want it to do. Just knowing how to design something to make it perform the function that it's supposed to perform.
What would you consider the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part of my job? Not physically difficult, but you can spend a lot of time trying to design tools or processes or devices to work like they're supposed to. But in many cases, you're turning these things over to people to give them to use, and it's hard to have the foresight of understanding just how people are going to use things or break things, or how they might or might not work for them. For example, I could design a connection of a wire into a microphone like you guys were playing with this morning, so it's only supposed to go in one way, not really understanding ahead of time that some high school student might pick that thing up and force it in another way that is then going to make it difficult to assemble later on. So the people aspect can be difficult. I wouldn't say that's hard. It's enjoyable to try and understand how people are going to use devices you create, and then learning over time to anticipate that so that you can always do better and better in making things that aren't going to fail.
Okay.
So what would you say, like, throughout all the years you've been a mechanical engineer, what do you think was probably one of your most difficult tasks?
Difficult tasks. As I mentioned, trying to figure out ahead of time how people are going to use the things that you provide to them. There are other types of challenging tasks that are just difficult in size, makes them take a lot longer. Schedule pressure can be difficult. Sometimes you're told you may be given a simple task that normally would take a certain amount of time, whether it's a week or a month or a year. But if you're told we need to have this in 3 hours, that can be difficult. But it also is a lot of fun because you have to think outside of the box to figure out how to solve a problem really quickly that's going to help somebody else perform their job.
Are there ever any parts in your job that maybe are more simple and easier to do than other parts?
There's parts of my job that are routine, and sometimes I come up with solutions for people that may work perfectly fine, but then the people using them are constantly being turning over. They go on to other jobs or they retire, and so you'll be given a new person that doesn't know how to do the job or doesn't have the tool you gave them, and so it's really simple to keep those devices or those things in your bag of tricks that can then hand out to another person and watch them enjoy using something that solves a problem for them. That's simple. More difficult is things that you've never encountered before, and you wonder sometimes how in the world did that happen? And you have to, sit down and puzzle on that for a while to try and come up with a solution that solves the problem once and for all.
All right.
So do you, at your position in Boeing, do you ever have to, are you training a lot of new people, like as they come in, say like as they come out of college and things like that? Do you do a lot of that training, or?
There's a lot of mentoring involved. The more senior you get, the more you do with that. I've got several people that are under me that I, mentor them whenever they have questions about how to perform their job. There's also, non-engineers that are constantly coming in. It's not my job to be in their part of their formal training, but when they hit the shop floor and they need to be able to solve problems, you want to be there to help them.
You mentioned, or he asked a question concerning newcomers to Boeing. What is the process exactly to become a Boeing employee?
Well, there's formal processes for application. If we're specifically talking about engineering, you have to have an engineering degree.
Okay.
So that's typically a 4-year engineering degree at any accredited college for engineers. There's many of them around, and they're all good colleges, and you need to pick the career path you want, what type of engineering, and get a degree, and then apply. And life constantly has people growing up, getting older, and retiring. So there's always opportunities for getting a job someplace. Trying to find a job in something that's your passion is one of the challenges of life. You can get a job, even if it's a career you enjoy. You could find yourself in a situation where you're not having fun, and that's not good. You always want to be able to have fun doing, the passion of your life.
Of course.
So would you say that, like, and as you go in every day to work, would you say that's something you enjoy? Like, it's not something you dread doing in the mornings?
I enjoy my job. There are mechanical engineering jobs or designer jobs that would really bore me. I don't have to sit at a computer design terminal all day. Some people love that type of work. I have a job where sometimes I sit at my computer doing email and designing things. Sometimes I'm in a lab playing with parts and putting things together and having a lot of fun. Often I'm just out in the shop understanding what's working and what's not working. Because there's so much variety in my job, I really enjoy going to work.
So what, excuse me, what about planes interests you the most? Like, of course, you had to enjoy something about planes to pursue such a career in Boeing. So is there a reason for that?
Do you guys ever be in a car driving down the road, say on a nice summer day when the windows are down, and you stick your hand out and it starts floating up and down, and you sit there and you're playing with it? Seeing a huge mechanical object soar through the air without any visible means. You don't see the jet engine, what's going through the jet engine, because it's air and exhaust. You don't see the air flowing on the wing, and watching that thing take off without any visible means of making it fly is pretty cool. That's one thing that's cool about airplanes.
Yeah.
Rockets are cool, but you can see what's pushing them.
Yeah.
And the other thing about large things like airplanes and rockets is there's so much stuff inside them. They're really advanced, lots of technologies, and just an infinite amount of things you can learn about and enjoy working on the rest of your life. Not one person could ever do it.
Yeah, of course. We'd like to wrap this up, or just temporarily, for a segment that we have, a student rant segment that was created by students from Getchell, and we'd like to take a break real fast.
Yeah.
Why are people always hitting on my shoes, man?
nice shoes. Those are actually some pretty nice shoes.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
His turn will come.
Yeah.
We'll get to put him in a situation.
So
So we're ready?
Yes. So we're back with Charger Chat here at Marysville Getchell High School. We're with the mechanical engineer from Boeing, Scott Ludwig. We'd like to continue asking you more questions.
Okay.
So what would you say your average day at work's like? So what's that normal?
So I work an early shift, and so I get off at 1:30, and many people are still working at that time. So I leave work, and the emails just keep coming in and keep coming in. So when I get to work in the morning, after I get a cup of coffee, there's usually a whole pile of emails that have built up. Sometimes they're new problems, sometimes it's just working through other stuff that was already in progress. So I will spend probably an hour or so trying to catch up and figure out what's going to happen during the day. That's a luxury. Sometimes serious things may have popped up that require you to get out on the shop floor right away to go try and figure out what's going on. Not usually, though. Usually I have some time to sit and think and plan out the day. Did that completely answer your question? I think ask it again.
I was asking what happens in the average workday. So
that's just a morning, or the first part of the morning. So once you get rolling then and get through some of that, sometimes might start on a design or go out to the manufacturing shop floor to find out what the issues are for the day, or answer an email and find out what help is needed. Sometimes it's going down to a lab and talking to people that are working on projects. There's a lot of project management involved. Finding other people. I don't have the resources myself to do all the work that comes in. So you have to find other people to do it. And so a lot of it is juggling all those tasks, all those balls, trying to keep everything in work.
You mentioned that you're flooded with emails even after work. Does your job require a lot of work done at home?
Sometimes it does. Many people get involved in tasks that can consume a lot of time.
Yeah.
But the company wants people to have a home life also. And you need to keep the production line going and solving problems. But there's also an expectation that when you're done with work, you're done with work. Some of that's just depends upon the things going on. If you get an email or a call of something serious happened or critical happened and they need your help, you go provide the help. I'd say that doesn't happen too often for me, though.
Okay.
So you mentioned in your answer to the average day, you say there's a lot of teamwork involved. Is that on a day-to-day? Is that what a majority of your work's like? Is it a lot of team-based, or is it more?
For me, it's
individual?
almost all team-based. Some people, as I mentioned, can sit at a design terminal all day long by themselves, spitting out wonderful, high-quality designs, and if that's what they enjoy, they may not have to work in teams much at all. For me, almost everything I do is a function of talking to people who are having the problems, or talking to other people who already have solutions or know how to solve a problem that I may not know how to solve. One, you don't ever want to reinvent the wheel either. You need to know not to waste your time and resources and money solving a problem that's already been solved. So that's a big part, is networking with people and knowing where to go to get answers for questions.
I think that there's a wide variety of jobs offered at Boeing. What are some jobs that perhaps you need help with to complete a task that you are given?
I would say 90% of the stuff that I work on that's most enjoyable is new. As I mentioned, there's things that I worked on before or had other people work on where I already have the solutions, and it's just offering them up again to new people, for example. But new things come in all the time. Not, you're building new airplanes, or you're changing processes, or just things happen that have never happened before, and that means you don't necessarily have the knowledge of how to solve it right away, and So part of the skill of being the engineer is knowing what you don't know, and then understanding and knowing who to go to solve those problems. And if you don't know who to go to, you have to have ways and you have to have a capability to go figure it out. So you can't solve everything yourself, especially if it's, you know, not part of your job responsibility to know that.
Okay.
In your position, do you interact with planes hands-on a lot, or is it more?
I'm not a mechanic, so I don't build them, but I'm out there in the shop every day. You could say I touch, you know, the wing. I work on wings, and I touch the wing every day, you know, pretty much. Constantly, you know, communicating with the people out there, then solving their problems. And if you don't have your nose in the job, in you know, in the devices that they're building, the wings, for example, you know, how can you solve a problem for them if you don't get out there and get a little bit dirty?
Of course. So, how long have you been working at Boeing?
28 years now.
Okay, and would you say you've learned like a lot? Like, are there a lot of life lessons involved?
Oh yeah, you know, I think when I first came in, you get kind of gung ho out of college, and you may think, okay, I know how to do everything.
Yeah.
And then you know, I wouldn't say it's humbling, but you have to be a little bit humble to know that, and to learn. I don't know everything, and finding out and being efficient, as I mentioned, of understanding what you don't know and figuring out how to solve problems, new problems, is a great part of the job. You know, it's a maturity. You know, in any career path you choose, there's going to be a growth of maturity and understanding better ways to do your job, and it's not always doing it all yourself.
So we're gonna cut to a another student created commercial, and
Okay.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Ask you some more questions.
Honestly, dude, this class is so boring. I think we should make paper airplanes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, why are you trying to make your airplane so perfect?
Well, you see, man, I went to Harvard for 2 years for mechanical engineering, and they taught me well.
Did you really?
Nah, I learned it from a YouTube tutorial, and these are all fake numbers.
Even though that you learned it from a YouTube tutorial, I'm still gonna beat you.
Sure, fam. Let's go. Done.
Done.
You ready, Ryan?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, bud.
You first, Logan.
Thanks, man.
Nice try, dude.
Nice job, man.
Hold on. There's more.
No way.
No, no way. No way. No, no, no. You know who made that YouTube video? It was me.
Welcome back to Marysville Getchell. This is Charger Chat with mechanical engineer from Boeing, Mr. Ludwig, and we'd like to continue asking more questions.
So I know we have a lot of students here at Marysville Getchell itself, over at the Academy of Construction and Engineering, who may be pursuing a career down that path. Would you recommend, I mean, your job to them? Like, would you?
I think that school is really keyed into an engineering path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be perfectly appropriate for many people in ISC also, because many students may be here in ISC that picked it not knowing what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that in any of the programs here at Getchell, you may find yourself in a situation where you started in one of the schools and you finished at one of those schools and figure out during that time or later that's not what you wanted. Part of growing up and learning, what you want requires experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good career path, but it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody is in the liberal arts and they, may be doing art or music, or you could have somebody who's really good and wants to be, their passion is being a teacher. Engineering may not be the right path for them. Some people are more interested in what provides the dollars, and engineering is a good one for that. It's not the best, it's not, you're not going to earn wages like a brain surgeon might,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not for everybody either.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on your aptitude and what you're interested in. Find something that you're passionate about and you enjoy. That's what the most important part is.
What personal characteristics do you feel are necessary to become a successful engineer?
You have to be open to new solutions. Sometimes many engineers are what they call, they think with the, like the left side of their brain.
Yeah.
And I probably fall into that category a lot, where I want things to be structured and logical. And that has a place, but that probably means that I will miss out on some concepts and some solutions that other people might think of. People who think with the right side of their brain, they're a little bit more out of the box, and they may or may not have more failures, but they also might have the best possible solutions. You have to be open to all of that and listening to other people.
Okay.
So what would you say is your most memorable day while working at Boeing?
Memorable day. I don't travel a lot. Some people, Boeing travel all the time. I haven't, and so I had a trip to Spain. That was not so much a day, but an event. My trip to Spain was really cool. Memorable day. There's so many of them. First day, that was pretty cool. Last day will be cool. Every day in between is pretty good also. Being able to take something out to somebody that's struggling and give them something, and seeing them try out something new that works, and then watching them smile and solving a problem for somebody, that can make any day memorable.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to, oh, my bad. We'd like to take one more break,
Okay.
so we will be right back.
Wow, I really want to read this book.
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm just reading a book.
Yeah, what book are you reading?
Oh, I think it's called the Bad Luck book.
Why are you reading the bad luck book? Don't you get bad luck from that?
I don't think it's going to do anything.
Well, I gotta go to class, so I'll see you later.
Gee, I hope I don't get bad luck. I want some chips. I want some Cheetos. There's some.
Bad luck book? Free Cheetos? What? Better get my change. Oh wait, I got these for free. Well, I'm gonna check anyways. Hey Garrett, could you hold this book? I gotta go microwave my Cheetos. Oh! No way. No way. No freaking way. What? This is so weird. It's giving me good luck even though it says bad luck book.
It's paying off, actually. Oh, what? Moral of the story, don't ever judge a book by its cover.
Welcome back to Marysville Getchell. This is Charger Chat. We'd like to continue asking more questions to mechanical engineer Mr. Ludwig, and we'd like to start with Simran's question.
So have you ever made any mistakes on like a part, or just any mistakes on the job in general that were like, that you clearly remember?
So as I mentioned, I don't work on the actual parts themselves. That's a union job and up to the mechanics. But a relevant question then deals with failures or mistakes. And I work in a research and development group, and so you could say that failure is part of the job. If you're not failing, you're not trying new and novel concepts. So sometimes they say that for every one good solution you may have tried 80 or 90 ones that failed. And part of the fun is working through some of those issues and finding out what didn't work. Now, have I ever made mistakes that caused something to fail instead of just not understanding how to design it? Sure, everybody makes mistakes. Airplane building and the actual parts don't see those mistakes go out on them. I work on processes more, and not everything you try works, but going through and trying over and over again, it may be small little tweaks to something you do, or it may be radically changing your approach and seeing how well it works and what went wrong is a great part of the job. Some people may not tolerate that well. They may think, I can never fail. Everything's got to be perfect the first time.
How many years of schooling did you go through, and were those years difficult?
So most engineering careers for a bachelor's degree is just a 4-year degree. I'd say probably all of them. And you can always go to advanced education and get a master's degree with 1 or 2 more years, and then a doctorate with 4 more. I didn't do that, so I have a bachelor's degree. Were they difficult? At the time, it was a lot of work, lots of homework, lots of trying to get good grades, just like you guys try.
Yeah.
It seemed difficult, but thinking back on it, it was probably one of the funnest times of my life. You're not tied to the job. You don't know exactly what you're going to be doing, but you're just having a whole lot of fun learning. And the grind of homeworks and tests, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
I would encourage you guys, do as good as you can. Every little bit of homework and test counts.
So as you said that there's a lot of homework involved, and you said earlier there's not a lot of homework involved from like your job, but would you compare the stuff you did in college, like the work-wise, like what they gave you for homework, is that a lot like what you do now at work? Or
That's a real good question. To a large degree, for my job, I'd say no. But I remember talking to some classmates of mine several years after I graduated who said, and they were working on rockets, and they said that everything they did was straight out of the textbook. Thermodynamics and heat transfer and mechanical design. And myself and a buddy who came to work at Boeing with me thought about that and said, well, we hardly do any of that. And I went back and I had spoken with the dean of my engineering school, and he said, but what you're doing is just as much engineering as they're doing. It may not be textbook engineering, which may make it even more challenging because what you're trying to learn on the job, didn't come necessarily from a textbook. You know, you're learning it on the fly, but that doesn't mean it's any less engineering. You know, the aspect of engineering that's really important, though, is understanding, you know, strengths of materials, how to put things together, how to make complex devices fit in certain areas, and whether or not that came directly out of a textbook doesn't really matter. It's learning and gaining experience and able to solve those problems.
Mm-hmm.
You consider your work not out of a textbook? Is it, like, what would you consider it as?
It's still engineering,
Okay.
but it's not necessarily designing the basic devices all the time, but understanding what's available, you know, knowing where to go, whether it's Googling something and finding something on the internet, or through companies that make the tools you need, and figuring out what's wrong with the current process. Excuse me, what's wrong with the current process? What's not working for the shop mechanics? And trying to find something that solves that problem and can perform it accurately and repeatability with, you know, perfect quality the first time, that causes no issues for the mechanics. One thing you always have to be really careful of is the safety of the people using your devices. You don't want to give them something that's going to cause them any risk. You always want to be reducing the risk or entirely eliminating, you know, any safety factors. Sometimes that's as simple as ergonomics, which means how does a tool feel in their hand? And if they're squeezing a trigger for a drill motor, you know, whatever it might be, you know, 1,000 times a day, are they going to get injured because it's uncomfortable, you know, or there's too much pressure? Knowing how to safely solve problems for the end users is, you know, key part of the engineering.
Okay.
So it's looking like we're coming towards our end here. At Charger Chat, we'd like to thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So.
Appreciate the time to come talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
We really appreciate
a lot
it.
of the information's extremely helpful on the